Hello, everybody. Bringing you tonight some wonderful detoxifying yin yoga. So as always, make sure you have your props ready. You'll need 2 blocks, a bolster if you have it. And if you don't have a bolster, a couch pillow is fine. Make sure it's nice and dense. And maybe a blanket. You could roll that up to make it thicker or less thick. Blankets are a really great prop to have in any practice. Gather your props and then find a comfortable seat. As we're going to be starting with some pranayama, as always, breath practices. Tonight we are going to be practicing Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. So sit up on maybe a bolster or pillow, and then just let the knees relax, cross the legs. You're going to be covering one nostril. I like to use my thumb to cover the right nostril, and then my ring finger to cover the left, as we're going to be alternating back and forth, breathing out of both nostrils alternately. I'm going to do this for 2 minutes. So begin by covering the right nostril. Inhale through the left. Hold at the top. Switch, cover the left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Hold. Switch, cover. Exhale left. Inhale left. Switch. Exhale right. Inhale right. Switch. Exhale left. Inhale left. Switch. Exhale right. Inhale right. Switch. Exhale left. Inhale left. Switch. Exhale right. Inhale right. Switch. Exhale left. Inhale left. Switch. Exhale right. Release. Breathe naturally for a few breaths. Just experiencing the breath coming in and out of both nostrils. And when you're ready, come to all fours. And always have your props handy, just in case you need them. We are going to be coming into child's pose. So this is going to be a wide knee child's pose. So bring your knees wide and your toes to touch. And then just come down with your hands outstretched in front of you, or you can always pillow the hands under the forehead. Or a more restorative version of this is bringing that bolster or pillow or blanket underneath the chest, lying on top of the pillow for 3 minutes. Just enjoying a nice child's pose here. This is a very restorative pose. Definitely a daily pose. Once you've found that posture where your body feels soft and relaxed, and just let the hips surrender to gravity. Maybe you need to spread the knees a little wider, maybe bring them in. It may take a few seconds to find that perfect pose, and that's okay. But once you've found that pose that feels nice, you just stop the fidgeting and fixing and resolve to be still. Just here on your mat or floor, surrendering to gravity. No muscle work in these poses. Inhaling into the low back, into the hips, and then exhaling and just really feeling the shoulders soften, the hips sink, the shoulders just melt into the mat. Soften the jaw, soften the neck and shoulders. Find this pose of ease and just allow the breath to enter into the low belly. Very calm, relaxed breath. Noticing the busyness of the mind, being the observer of that mental activity, not attaching to those thoughts, not running away with the story, just looking at the mind with curiosity and kindness, knowing that it may take a while to slow the mind down. Maybe bring the mind's focus back to the breath or body sensation. Feeling that deep stretch to the pelvis and the hips. Take one last deep inhale here and a long exhale. Slowly come up and remove that bolster. Come to all fours. And take any movements that you feel are necessary, that your body just wants to do. And then from here, we're going to come into thread the needle. This is also called rolling panda in yin. Thread the needle, so you're going to bring either your right or left arm, thread it underneath the opposite arm, allowing that shoulder to come to the mat. So here I have my left shoulder in contact with the mat. And I'm not reaching with the right arm. I'm just sort of letting it be there for stability. But I do want to feel sensation on that left shoulder. You should feel the left side body opening up, getting that gentle spinal twist here. Again, bring the knees wide, big toes to touch, just like we were in child's pose. Take an inhale here. exhale and feel the body surrender to that left shoulder. Let the right forearm completely relax on the floor or mat. Soften the jaw, soften the neck. Your left temple is most likely in contact with the floor or mat. Whatever position your head is in, just make sure it feels good on the neck. No pinching of the neck. We're just breathing here and allowing those connective tissues surrounding the muscles of the shoulder and the neck, allowing them to get and receive that tensile stretch. In order for that to happen, we have to release the muscle work. No muscle tension here. No engagement of muscles. Just handing off the pose to the tendons, the ligaments, and the fascia, which encompasses the entire body. Just being and breathing in this shape. Nothing else to do but be with the sensations of the body, be with the breath in this moment now. One more inhale. One long exhale. Slowly come back to center and pillow the hands underneath the forehead. And just resting here before we switch to the other side. And then when you're ready, thread the needle on the opposite side. In the video here, I am doing my right side. I will turn around to show you. Threading my right arm underneath the left, letting that right shoulder just collapse onto the mat. Reaching the left hand forward. Maybe there's a little muscle engagement to find my deepest edge of the pose where I feel sensation on the right shoulder. And then I'm going to just soften into it. Disengage any muscle work and let gravity take over. Jaw is soft. The eyebrows are soft. Knees wide, once again, toes can touch behind you. And if this is feeling a little too much on the shoulder, you can always scoot the hips back down, lower towards the heels. This doesn't have to be too intense on the shoulder. The more you bring the hips or the booty back toward the heels, you're going to take some of that weight and the pressure off of the shoulder. But you do want to feel sensation in all of these poses. That's the difference between yin and restorative. Restorative is a little more focused on healing injuries, letting the body heal itself in a certain positions. Yin is about pushing the envelope just a little more. Being with the discomfort in these postures, physically and mentally. Just breathe. Noticing the mind. Noticing all the conversations, all the flashes of thought, just constantly coming in. And just be the observer. Give the mind a smile and come back to breath or body sensation. Not getting taken away with stories or conversations. One more deep inhale and a long exhale. Slowly come out and then come back to center. Pillow the hands under the forehead. Just rest in the center for a few breaths. This practice, this detoxifying practice, is an energy-focused yin class. And in energy yin, we are focusing on the meridians of the body. And in this class, it is the liver and the gallbladder meridian lines. The liver meridian runs up through the inner thighs. The gallbladder meridian runs through the outer thighs. It also continues up the sides of the body and up through the head, but for today's practice, mostly working on that lower body meridian area. Half shoelace is our next pose. So bring that left leg over the right, and as you can see here, you want to stack the knees as much as possible. So bring the thighs close together. Lift the chest, lengthen the spine, and then leading with your chest, walk the hands forward. So you're hinging at the hips here. You will feel this on the outer left hip, the outer hip of the bent leg. So what we're going to do is hold this posture, and you want to make it as comfortable as possible for your upper body, your neck and head to just drape over that outstretched leg and that bent knee. So use a pillow, a bolster, a blanket, whatever you can to just sort of make that position doable for 3 minutes. Once again, yes, you're going to feel this on the outer left hip or the outer hip of whatever bent leg you have on top. 3 minutes here, hinging at the hips. Again, you can always put a pillow underneath the bottom leg, the knee, if it needs to be bent. That's always fine. Finding that position. This posture can be pretty intense. So just find that position. It may require a little bit of adjusting, but once you do, resolve to be still. Still and soft. Take a deep inhale Exhale, maybe inch the hands a little bit forward and just drape the upper body over the knees. Just feeling that outer hip, get a nice deep stretch to it, and also the hamstring of the bottom leg. And like I said, you can always bring a pillow under that bottom knee or a rolled up blanket. This is directly working with the gallbladder meridian, outer hips. In Meridian Yin, we're not really specifically focusing on the organ itself, the gallbladder in this instance, but rather we are allowing a smooth flow of qi through that meridian or that channel, which is going to have an impact on our overall total health. So think of these poses maybe as unkinking a hose in these channels, these meridians where your qi is flowing. And it's going to allow that qi to flow smoothly. One more deep inhale. And a long exhale. Very slowly come back up, very slowly uncross the legs. And then bring your feet wider than your hips and then windshield wiper the knees back and forth just to release the hips. And when you're ready, we'll take the other side. Bringing that right knee stacked over the left knee this time. Making sure those knees are on top of one another as much as possible. So you don't want to have like a figure four. You want to have those knees close in together. Hinging forward at the hips, leading with the chest. You want to get a nice hinge, lengthening the spine. Find where you feel that sensation on the outer right hip and then soften, surrender to gravity in that position. Resolve to be still for 3 minutes here. Maybe feeling that breath just nurture any areas where you feel sensation. As if those inhales are nurturing and warming, tenderizing the areas that are tight. And the exhales are just releasing and surrendering a little bit more. No muscle engagement. The jaw and neck are soft. Ankles are soft, taking any flexion out of the feet. Just being and breathing in this shape. Breathing into the low belly, feeling the body surrender to relaxation in this pose. Noticing the mind, and then noticing those thoughts just disappear like clouds, not attaching to any stories. One more deep inhale and a long exhale. As you slowly come up, unwind the legs, shake them out, and then windshield wiper the knees once again to loosen the hips. And from here, grabbing your block, or rather your pillow and your blanket, sitting on the blanket. Yes, we're coming into Dragonfly, or a wide-legged full straddle. So the reason you want to sit on that blanket or that pillow is to get a nice tilt forward to the pelvis. You don't want to round at the back. You want to tilt the pelvis forward. So open the legs as wide as you're able, and then we'll walk the hands forward. You can rest on the elbows. You can bring that bolster in. This is a nice restorative pose, is to bring that bolster in and just sort of hug the bolster, lying down on it, if you're able to do that. You can also make this extremely comfortable by bringing 2 blocks, one at the medium setting and one at the high setting, and then bring that bolster sort of over it. So it has like a little tilt so that you can lean forward, and that is extremely restorative. It feels very good. I could probably fall asleep to that pose. You can also use that couch pillow if you don't have one of those nice long bolsters. So this forward fold, we're going to be here for a little while. And this 5 minutes. And this pose is directly working with the liver meridian now, which is the inside of the thighs, inside of the legs. So it's the opposite of the gallbladder, which is the outside. So for 5 minutes, we're going to have this nice forward fold, wide-legged straddle, also known as dragonfly pose. You're going to find as much length to the back as possible when you hinge forward too. And then release the flexion of the feet. Allow all the muscles in the legs to just completely disengage. Almost as if, what would it be or feel like to fall asleep in this pose with no muscle work? Just collapse into it. propped up however you need. Feeling the tensile stretch to the inner thighs. Maybe even after a couple minutes, you could crawl the hands farther forward and deepen the pose after you've been in it for a while. Just breathing here into the low belly. Each inhale sending that breath to that inner thigh area, that area of sensation. And each exhale, feeling the body just soften and melt, surrender more to gravity, and just let go. Letting all the mental activity just sort of soften and dissipate, like clouds in a blue sky. And just experiencing this moment now with all of the senses. As if you, as a whole, are just a giant antenna or receptor of sensation. In this moment, that's all that you are. A receptor of sensation in this moment. Not labeling the sensations as good or bad, painful, not painful, pleasurable. Just being with them. Each inhale, cleansing, nourishing the body. Each exhale, releasing. One more deep inhale. And a long exhale. Very slowly come out of this posture. And then once you've released or moved your props, use your hands to bring your legs together. And then just sit on your heels. Just sitting here in Virasana, our hero's pose. You can always put the blanket underneath your booty like I have here. And just feeling the difference in sensation in this short counter posture. And then when you're ready, you can put the blanket aside and you're going to grab your block. Coming into cat pulling its tail. Few different variations for this. But lie on your side, bringing your temple to the block. Bring the hands together in front of you. Now look down at your hips and make sure that they are stacked, one on top of another. You're going to bring that top leg over out in front of you, but you don't want the hip to collapse in. Okay, you want to keep them stacked on top of one another. So you'll feel that stretch on the outer thigh of the top leg when you do that. Leave that bottom arm outstretched, and then you're going to take a nice spinal twist, bringing the back of your head to the block. So your gaze is upward, and then that upper arm can just relax behind you or on your hip. Now, most people don't take this option, but if you want, you can grab the back foot with the arm that is on top. Now that's going to require a little flexibility. So if you don't have that, that's perfectly fine. You can just leave the legs outstretched. The important thing here is that top leg is straight out in front of you and the hips are stacked. So again, this is focusing on that gallbladder line, the outer thigh, outer hip area. And you're also getting a wonderful detoxifying spinal twist in this pose. So your gaze should be upward. Your head should be on the back of the block. The back of the head should be on the block. And gaze upwards, but you can always close your eyes, of course. Cat pulling its tail, settling into that spinal twist. So taking the time you need with each breath to release muscle. And if you do have hold of that back foot, you're just really just holding onto it. You're not really pulling it with the hands. Okay, you're just holding it. You're letting the arm just work as a lever to hold it in place. Notice if that top hip is falling forward over time. I'm going to keep those hips stacked on top of one another. Here for a total of 3 minutes. Enjoying this wonderful detoxifying pose. Where can you find ease in this posture without losing the integrity of the pose? Can you soften the shoulders and jaw? Maybe take any flexion out of the feet. Soften the neck. Even softening the gaze. Finding the breath in the body. Riding each wave of the inhales and exhales. One more inhale here. And a long exhale. If you have the back foot, release it. So from here, we're moving directly into our next posture. You're going to leave the block where it is, roll over onto the belly. I'm going to keep that leg that was on top. You're going to keep it outstretched to a 90-degree angle. This is half frog pose. So the bottom leg is going to be straight, and the leg that was on top is now at a 90-degree angle. And you're going to be up on your forearms. And that block that the back of your head was on is now going to be there for you to rest your forehead on if you need. So you can bring it up to the high position. So the upper body is just like we are in Sphinx pose. We're on our forearms. You can rest the head on the block if needed for the neck. And you should feel this with both hips weighing down toward the mat. You should feel this on that inner thigh of the bent leg. Again, this is the liver meridian. One of my favorite sort of two poses that go together. That cat pulling its tail, moving directly into this half frog. It's a really nice transition. Letting that low back just sort of unwind from that twist, and maybe even getting just a slight back bend here. If this is too much for the low back with the leg bent like this, you can come down on top of using the hands as a pillow. You can come off of the forearms. Inhale into that inner thigh area, into the low back. Exhale, feel the hips sink into the mat. Feel the jaw relax. The back of the neck relax. Shoulders, just sinking into the shoulders. One more deep inhale into the area of sensation and a long exhale. And then from here, just bring both legs straight, pillow the hands under the forehead, and windshield wiper the legs or the feet back and forth if you like, if that feels good. And then taking that same sequence to the other side. So to show you, I'm turning around. So I'm always facing front, But for you, you can just simply roll onto the other side. Bring that block onto the opposite temple. Hands out in front of you. Stack the hips on top of one another. And then outstretch that top leg in front of you. That leg would be straight. Make sure you pull back on that top hip so it's stacked on top of the bottom hip. Take that twist, bring the back of the head onto the block. You can always rest that back arm on the waist. And maybe if you choose to grab the black foot like I have here. Cat pulling its tail, other side. The important thing here is making sure that that top hip does not creep forward, that it's stacked on top of the bottom hip. And your gaze is facing upward. The back of the head is on the block. Enjoying that spinal twist. Inhale here. And exhale and soften into the pose. Nestle into the twist of the spine. If you have that back foot, just use that arm as a lever to hold it in place. We're not pulling anything. Enjoy that tensile stretch to the outer hip of the top leg. Unkinking the hose of the meridian, the gallbladder meridian, running through the outer hip and up the sides of the body. Feel the muscles of the face just relax here. Gravitating toward the floor or mat. Feel the shoulders opening and softening toward the mat. Notice where you're holding on to any tension still, any muscles that are still engaged. Bring softness there. Breathe into that area. That breath, that nourishing breath, let it fill the entire body. With each exhale, each inhale, and each exhale, you find ease and surrender. One more deep inhale here, and a long exhale. Slowly make your way into that half frog, bringing that leg to a 90-degree angle. That's important here to get that stretch to the liver meridian, that inner thigh. You want to have that leg at a 90-degree angle. And then adjust the hips so they're as even as possible toward the mat. Coming onto the forearms, or again, if that's too intense on the low back, you can just pillow the hands under the forehead, come off of the forearms. Wherever you are, Take a nice nourishing inhale into the area of sensation. And a long exhale to surrender to gravity. Letting the shoulders be soft, the jaw and the neck. The hips melt into the mat or floor. Nothing to do but just be and breathe in this shape. Feeling the body adjust to this shape on its own and surrender. One more deep, nourishing inhale. Long exhale. Slowly bring the legs back together. Windshield wiper the feet side to side. You can pillow the hands under the forehead, releasing the low back. And when you're ready, coming to a seat. Just taking a child's pose here with the knees together. I like to hug the bolster in this pose. Just having the knees together, rounding the spine over the bolster. Of course, you don't have to have a bolster. You can just take embryo or pillow the hands under the forehead here. Just bringing a nice roundness to the spine. And this is just a counter pose to our slight back bend and twisting that we just had. If you do have a bolster, enjoy that hug. This always feels so good. belly rising and falling on top of the thighs. Take one more deep, nourishing inhale. One long, releasing exhale. And then make your way to a seat, comfortable seat, to close our practice. As always, it's been my honor to guide you through this energy meridian yin. Namaste.